The pandemic has proved especially difficult for migrant communities who have been unable to travel due to border restrictions. A large number of our migrant population here in Perth is Chinese, with many running or working in businesses that make up part of Western Australia's economy. The latest census data from 2016 showed more than 100,000 people of Chinese ancestry live in Western Australia.
My first trip as Premier was to lead a delegation of 40 individuals across Western Australian businesses and government to China, including to Zhejiang. Western Australia is a trading state, and our success is based on strong relationships.
But how did the pandemic impact our Chinese community here in Perth, especially business owners who had to adapt to such an uncertain and turbulent environment? One of the industries most heavily impacted by the pandemic is the travel industry. Eric Lee is a local travel agent who says the majority of his staff have left to find other jobs since government support like JobKeeper came to an end.
We were not trained to handle pandemic impact in our business. So we were actually trained to be able to serve our customer for their dream holiday, but instead of we have to do everything in reverse.
Former WA Small Business Minister Paul Papalia released a statement in September 2020, saying up to 90% of travel agencies' incomes are drawn from locals travelling overseas. But international border closures due to the pandemic means that supply of income is no longer available.
I saw a lot of businesses going downhill, out of business, and even they could not sustain to pay their rent and all that. Along the way, luckily we have continued to receive government support, allowing us to stay in our duty. And in our industry, there are some leaders, such as Australian Federation Travel Agency, is an association giving out a lot of helping hand to a lot of local travel agency to rebuild their business. But unfortunately, this is still going to be a long way away before we can go back to our normal life, I would believe.
A related industry that also felt the impacts of the pandemic was the tourism industry. WA's tourism numbers reached record highs before the pandemic, with the industry being valued at $11 billion in 2019. However, by August last year, a Tourism Council survey found WA's tourism activity was down by up to 73%.
For my travel business, I was a struggle a little bit, because when you don't have any income, you're afraid to spend the money, and special, I didn't apply any help from the government.
Miss Walsh helps create boutique Western Australian tourism packages for Chinese tourists, but has decided to adapt her business to provide services for locals and tourists from other states.
I don't think it will change very soon. I think that's why I really want to focus with my domestic travel package. I really don't think the next 6 months or year, international travel will start soon. And I hope so. Now New Zealand already open with us, right? The travel bubbles, but in then one case, so it's quite scary,
Many businesses needed to adapt in order to survive during the pandemic. Last year's lockdowns and restrictions, as well as more recent snap lockdowns, have made business difficult, with many having to deal with stringent hygiene measures, social distancing, and supply chain issues. However, some businesses were able to adapt more effectively than others, such as restaurants that were able to focus on alternative ways of serving food to their community.
疫情之前嘅外賣啊、台食都非常之好咯，都都可以，都即係做得都幾經營得幾好咯。疫情之後咧，就疫情期間咧非常之難做咯，同埋咧就啲生意咧就即係跌咗好多。
Mr. Chen needed to adapt the way his restaurant operated in order to continue supporting his staff and paying their wages.
係啊，我哋都有 Uber 啊，做 special 啊，咁啊做到啲特價啊，咁啊大家啲俾到啲客人，俾啲送啲嘢俾客人啊，咁啊希望維持咗嗰啲工人喺度做工，等佢哋都有份工做下咁啦。老細就肯定係冇糧出㗎啦。
The state government announced a $2,000 lockdown assistance grant to help small businesses impacted by the recent 3-day lockdown. While running a business has been hard during these uncertain times, many Chinese business owners and workers remain hopeful and continue to do their best to provide for the West Australian community.
Just making sure that you put your heart into what you do, making sure that you're cooking. It's like cooking for yourself. If you're cooking for yourself or your customers, you want to make sure that you're cooking the best for your family, and making sure you use the best ingredients possible, using traditional methods, and making sure we give the best to our customers.
I haven't get the full picture clear yet, but at this stage, what I think I will do is get the local people will do like the weekend, immediate part weekend tour.
Hopefully our vaccine program will catch up and creating more travel bubbles amongst those countries such as Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, and etc.